Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Adams, and I lead our social strategy here at Unanet. And today we have a great conversation that will be covering the topic of the future of AI. And we have two great speakers. We have Lucas Hayden from Unanet, and we have Zulq Malik from Build, and we also have the wonderful Angelina Tadros from SmartBuild. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. Lucas and Zulk, if you'll reintroduce yourselves and then just give a little bit of an introduction into what you're going to talk about, and then we'll kind of let you take it from there.
Awesome.
Go
I'll
ahead,
let you go
Zulk.
first, Lucas.
Oh, all right. I'll jump in. So hey, my name is Lucas Hayden. If I haven't met you before, it's great to meet you virtually. My background actually begins as a kid. My dad worked in the AEC space, so I kind of grew up in the industry. I've spent the last 15 years working with AEC firms, helping them solve problems, do business, iteratively a little bit better. And from our topic of conversation today, AI props up a huge opportunity for firms to do more with less and to pursue the right work and execute really well on that work and all kinds of goodness. So I'm looking forward to kind of chatting through. Zulk, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lucas. I didn't have the same pedigree. I didn't grow up in a construction AEC ecosystem, but I had Tonka trucks, so I guess that counts.
That counts.
That counts. So for everyone that hasn't met me, I'm Zulq Malik. I'm one of the principals here at Smart Build Construction. Prior to Smart Build, I've spent the last almost 30 years in the industry, working in different roles and capacities, from a project administrator to a coordinator to an executive VP. And then I've had my own construction company for a little north of 15 years. And today, what you see as part of Smart Build is really the culmination of all the tech stack that we built for our company so that we could be competitive against the bigger, larger organizations and really punch above our weight. We knew this in 2007. And now companies are starting to come to that. So happy to be here and have this discussion because Unanet team, if you look at the history behind Unanet, there's a lot of years back there that really give us a lot of essence of why we should be here talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I should probably say just a sentence or two about Unanet. And essentially, we provide unified business solutions in the AE space. We've been at it for over 20 years now and work with coming up on 2,000 different AEC firms. And so, yeah, happy to be here chatting with that too as well.
Awesome. So look forward to it. So, Lucas, I know that everyone's looking for something AI. You're seeing it from your customer perspective. We're seeing it from our customer perspective. You guys have an AI tool in the marketplace. We have an AI tool that's in the market as well. Obviously, we don't compete on those levels. We're kind of complementary if you look at what you guys are doing versus what we're doing.
Yeah.
But why did Unanet jump out and want to start going AI first?
Yeah. So anyway, so that was a great question, Zolk. From our perspective, we have heard from our customers in the market at large that AI can help in two really important ways, both in the realm of BD and marketing. Actually, 2 years running now in the Inspire report, we've asked, what part of your business do you see AI having the most impact? And for 2 years now, it's been in that space. And so we gathered a cohort of customers together to really dig into that. And there were two areas that kind of rose to the top of those discussions. One was, how can AI help us make better earlier stage decisions before we throw a bunch of resources at a pursuit that might not be a good fit, that we might not win? So how can we make better earlier stage pursuit decisions? And then the second thing had to do with proposals. How can we, when you look at the time it takes to produce a competitive proposal, just hours and hours and hours, and win rates being what they are, 50 maybe or so percent, it's a lot of time sunk into a proposal process, especially when something doesn't come to fruition. So that was the other area, was how can we save time and effort in producing first draft proposals? What if you could start every proposal 70% done, was kind of the marching orders in that way. So yeah, those are the two areas that we've really heard from both our customers and kind of the industry at large.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. If we look at a profile of our users, Lucas, yours tend to be more of the office, people that are planted in the office, and we're more on the execution side of the business. And on the execution side, the project's already been won, and now the challenge is how do we make sure we don't slip up? And what we found over and over again which kind of ties into a conversation we'll have about adoption, is that the data and how we collect the data, that seems to be the point of limitation for us, right? And that's the struggle that pretty much all the contractors are having, is that, yeah, great, we have this magical, wonderful box that we call SaaS, but we don't get the data into the box. And we really want to make informed decisions. And to make informed decisions, we need the data getting in better. So how do we change the subculture around collecting data? And how do we really position it and make it easier? And our chief marketing officer, which is actually our chief of experience slowly, he brought up a good point. This cell phone was not designed for people in construction, but yet it's the tool that we give everyone in construction to say, hey, get your data in through this mobile app. Right? And if people go, well, it's a phone, it works. You know, people type on these things, they take pictures, they do all these wonderful things. But people in construction, they're tactile humans.
Yeah.
They're used to bigger, heavier tools. Their thumbs are a little bit bigger than the average person. They're not acclimated to pulling out their phone and hitting 6 buttons. I mean, I can't type. I do the one finger typing when I'm on my phone.
Right.
I don't look normal. But so we said, hey, there's got to be a better way. So there's a lot of tried and tested what we called AI-based tech stacks. And then there's the visionary tech stacks. Like, how are we going to take a picture of something and fill in all the holes because the computer is going to know what's missing on the drawing, right? Like, yeah, that's visionary, way into the distant future. We said, hey, we have a very complex problem that needs a very simple solution. We need to get the data in. Because what we're finding is companies generationally are now making data-informed decisions.
Yeah.
They're no longer relying on their gut. I'm sure, Lucas, if you went to your family and say, hey, how did you decide you want to go after the job? It just felt right, right? Now they're saying, well, hold on a second. It feels kind of good, but I need the math to validate it. And, you know, if you're not recording your data, you're not recording anything that's of tangible value. So we have customers now with SMRT-E, as we launched it for our tech stack. People are like, oh my God, just simplified a problem that we had. They can just converse and we can get the data. We're like, yeah, you don't have to type. The one thing that people didn't like. And then we also took a look at it. English proficiency is a lot stronger than in the construction community. English proficiency isn't the strength there. We're dealing with the United Nations of workers.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So language proficiency is a challenge. Cultural proficiencies. I was on a podcast earlier where we said, hey, we take culture like it's unanimous for everybody. Well, no, we have cultural barriers that influence the way we think, the way we act, the way we react, the way we communicate. And we talk about topics. So we're saying, hey, how do we now bring this language proficiency out of the equation? And we said, hey, AI is going to be the solution for that stack. We're going to take the language out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that, I've been thinking about a lot recently is, like you mentioned, the topic of adoption and what keeps people from adopting. And I'd love to hear your hot take on this. I feel like one of the major barriers to adoption is either the perceived or real kind of imbalance of effort to value. If it takes me, too much effort to start getting value, out of an application to power tool or anything like that, I feel like that is a key part of, how we can drive adoption of tools that help make things better for folks. But what's been your experience with that?
I mean, clearly there is a resistance in the ecosystem to want to change, right? Humans don't like change. Let's just put it straight out there. This is not I'm in office, I'm a field guy. We're happy with what we've got. When you introduce change, you're saying, hey, I got to learn something new. I'm not interested in it. What we found, a couple of the barriers were that people are not building purpose-built tools, right? They're building this tool without taking the user's perspective into consideration. So they're making these elaborate ways of drilling down 10 times to get to that specific product or the feature stack. And the guy's like, dude, I just want it right here, front and center, a button. I want to push a button and I want it to work. And then the second part is that they're not given enough time for adoption. And they're not given the backstory. So typically what we find is, you got a C-suite that goes in and says, we're going to make a decision. They do it, which is perfectly natural. I mean, I had my own construction company. I didn't really solicit advice. But, it's like, hey, we're doing this. But we actually have to bring people around that change management. And what I learned last year, and I guess this goes out to Disney, we actually took the customer engagement program at Disney and realized that we're selling an experience. You guys sell an experience, we sell an experience, right? And that experience is in your care and custody, just like it's in my care and custody. And if we can have them have the best experience possible, then the product becomes secondary. So we've pivoted our shifting perspective saying adoption is not about a product, it's about the experience they're about to engage into, right? So, no different than going to an amusement park. If you got a long lineup and it's hot and it's sweaty, that's a bad experience for people at an amusement park. Well, if training takes 8 hours or 30 hours, or you got to go into a boardroom and I don't like being in a boardroom, probably not the best scenario for that worker.
In construction, they have a lot of stuff that's going on, like on the go, and they have to adopt a new technology. How do you think doing the regular job plus adopting technology is affecting their decision making?
I'm already tired. I don't want to do it. You need to send me the value prop of why it's going to make my life better. And a lot of people just say it's going to be better. And what they say, it's going to be better right away, which is probably the biggest lie. I'm sure, Lucas, you've had that in your world, is we say, the minute you roll this out, it's going to be awesome. And the truth is, it's not awesome. There's a curve. So don't sell them it's going to be awesome. Get them into the kiddie ride, graduate them into the bigger kids ride, and then put them on a roller coaster, right? They're not ready for it yet because you're really saying, hey, go ride this roller coaster. But you know what? You don't have your training wheels on. You have nothing on you. You're just thrown into it. And people get frustrated and they say, well, hey, I still have this other job I do. And now you want me to do this other thing. Yeah, I'm not interested. I walk away. So Lucas, I don't know how you guys had with training. I'm sure you got the ones that are jumping in and the ones that are like,
Yeah, my perspective is there are some people that use these kinds of tools as kind of like it's the carpenter's hammer. You have to use it to do kind of the core job. And then there are other folks. If you look at, say, like your project managers, that they're doing a lot of statusing and reporting. A lot of that kind of falls to outside of business hours. And so I think it's highly important to be able to provide value as quickly as possible, like you said, Zulq, with a very low learning curve. But at the same time, it's the old garbage in, garbage out principle with data and things like that. And as we were preparing for this talk, Zulq, you mentioned the role of data ownership in the overall AI story and what that foundation means to being able to get high value as quickly as possible. Do you mind talking about that a little bit? What is the role of owning your data?
Absolutely. I think right now, if you take a look at what the trend is in the industry, somebody buys a software and they've got a solution stack and everyone's joining into that ecosystem. Well, that data belongs to the person that's subscribed to that service provider. Simple. You've now given it some data. And if you want to make informed decisions on your own business pattern, you need to own your own data. So to own your own data, you have to have your own solution stack. And as you start to collect the information, so right now, I think, Lucas and I probably agree, not necessarily on the marketing side, but on the project management side, and maybe even some of the accounting is a lot further ahead because we got a lot of analytics around it, right? Because you got historical data and analytics. But project management in construction has been largely kept outside of a box. There's binders, there's paper, there's field reports. No one's actually analyzed and evaluated that information. So if anyone tells you that, hey, we've got the catch-all that's going to solve all your problems, I'm going to say, bullshit, doesn't exist. What's going to happen now is that you're going to collect this data, and this data is now, you can actually measure the data, you can analyze the data, you can review the data, and now you can make informed decisions on the data. Once that starts to happen, the AI tools start to generate into it, and they start analyzing things for you based on information that it's been fed. And now what happens is, for the contractors or even the consultants in the world, when you look at a project and you say, hey, I spent 100 hours in drafting, I spent 100 hours installing fences, there's still 100 hours, but I only budgeted 60. I can afford to lose money or I can't. Now you're going to make informed decisions. So whether it's drafting or it's installing a fence, you're going to make an informed decision. Now, what if it actually only took you 60 hours to do the drafting or 60 hours to install the fence? And you have a pattern. Some jobs it's 65, some jobs it's 55. And the next time you go to put a bid together, do you need 100 hours, right? Now you don't need 100 hours because that area of work, I can do this very effectively because we're really strong at this. So you know what? I'm going to be more competitive. I'm going to allow for 85 hours. Gives me a cushion, right? Now I got the project and I'm still going to make some money out of it, right? And likewise goes for the other stuff that, hey, I had 100 hours, spending 400 hours. I need to adjust for all that. That's where the AI stuff is going to really come in really quick and change the way how we put proposals together, how we cost stuff, how we make profit, which is the ultimate game for all of our customers.
Basically, the data allows you to make strategic decisions with resources. And Lucas, one of the things you mentioned outside of this was selecting the right project to bid on. If there's some time, like for your clients, that's one of the pain points. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So kind of piggybacking on what you just said, Zulq, if you think about the project lifecycle, everything from like finding, bidding and proposing on work to executing on that project and doing all the accounting and analytics that go into it and then closing it out. What's cool about that project lifecycle is that if you're capturing and stewarding the data at every kind of checkpoint along the way, it kind of becomes reciprocal in nature. When you go to bid on the next project, you're doing that on the shoulders of all the other projects that you've done before. And so you can, even from a very, very kind of early point in the lead stage, is you can say, okay, what work have we done with this client before? Was that work successful? Was it profitable for us? And was it a good solution for the client? Do we work well together? Can be informed by things like who might I compete with if I go after this opportunity? Who have I partnered with in the past or teamed with in the past to win this kind of work? Who do I know at the various companies that I could leverage from a relationship perspective? And all of these things being used to set the foundation for a good account strategy. And how do we want to go after this? How can we be multi-threaded? How can we make sure that the proposal process itself starts to add value to the client in the right ways based on the requirements of what the client's looking to do? So I think all of your efforts surrounding, again, capturing and stewarding that full project lifecycle of data can really help inform essentially the next project you go after.
I mean, if Lucas, if I may say so, everyone's looking for that quick scorecard where you can see the green lights and you can see the red lights and you can see the amber lights.
Yep.
And AI tools, instead of somebody stopping to look at it and say, where are all the lights? AI tools are bing, 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 bing. And, you start focusing on the reds really quick.
Yes. It's interesting if you think about the old Excel format, cell, red, yellow, green. Analytics took that to another level. And now I feel like AI will kind of take that even further with bringing your attention to the things that matter most in such a way that you can make better decisions faster that have higher impact on the business.
Which leads me to the next question is the flawed expectation of one size fits all solution in construction software. How important it is to, have the software that doesn't just serve everyone, but your specific audience.
You want to take
the unicorn?
Yeah, the unicorn. Why don't you take a swing at that one?
Oh, I love the unicorn. So my daughter's 8. When she was 1, she loved unicorns because they come with pretty colors. When she was 2, she had unicorn dolls. When she was 4, she discovered they're not real. And she's 8 and she knows they're not real now. She still likes them.
Wait, unicorns aren't real?
Sorry, man. I think I ruined it for a lot of people. I think people are looking for a unicorn, and as an economy, we got to talk about, people say construction. It's the AEC community, which is the architectural engineering contractor. And now there's a whole new acronym. I don't know if you heard of Lucas recently, AECO. They added the owner in the product. And then I was speaking with some subcontractor clients of ours for our Smart Sub platform. And they're like, well, what about the subcontractors? I'm like, we'll just add another acronym, right? Like, go ahead. What do we care? Another letter. Yeah. Knock your socks off. It's a very large economy, right? Probably around $10 trillion on an annualized basis. And it's probably on a sophistication level. And I'm not talking about AutoCAD. AutoCAD's pretty sophisticated. Revit, sophisticated. Those are sophisticated tools. But generally how we deliver it all is very low-tech sophistication. So when you think of this unicorn, we're not ready to build a unicorn yet. We're not even remotely close yet. When I first started in construction, we used to review drawings by hand, right? And I'm not that old, right? I mean, the gray hair is giving it away a little bit. I'm not that old. I remember fax machines. I remember pagers. So in less than 30 years, we've changed how we connect to each other. And, the idea of email, you never used email to communicate thoughts or ideas. Emails were, are you going to meet me? What time? Where? Good. Thanks. That was it. It wasn't like this essay you wrote in there. And now we're using technology to communicate differently. And I think that as we get 25 years down the road, I don't think we'll ever have a unicorn, but we're going to get something close to looking like a unicorn because the industry will have matured on a technology level.
Yeah, I think the way that I would answer that question is where I kind of see things going is more centered on the you and having a more personalized experience. What AI I think will afford us is the ability to really become much more fluid in the end user's experience.
100%.
Being able to provide text aware insights, suggestions, assistance on repeat tasks. I think that we'll have an opportunity to tackle that in a much different way in the next 2 years than we have in the past probably 20 or 30 years, which is pretty exciting. So there's definitely no one size fits all, but I think that we'll be able to get very specific in how we think about how we design and roll out products for the AEC space, certainly. And that, that'll have an impact on how those businesses are able to provide a different customer experience for their clients as well. So it's pretty exciting to think about.
Going along with the whole topic of AI, we have Unanet ProposalAI, and I think anyone here watching this would be interested in learning, like, what strategies or techniques have you found most effective in creating proposals that stand out and win over clients, especially in a competitive market like we have right now?
Yeah, to me, there's a couple different trends. And Zulq, feel free to add to this too. One I think I alluded to earlier, which is I feel like more and more for AEC businesses, the faster they're able to provide value in the pursuit process, the better. And you've probably seen this firsthand with your construction company, is if you can start partnering with your prospective client before the RFP even goes out or hits the street, then it obviously would position you to
100%.
do the work. And so I think by being able to focus on providing that value and providing that partnership and less focused on kind of the work of building and writing proposals, I think that will go a long way, and AI kind of offset some of that lift. So I think that's definitely one aspect of it, and a trend that I see kind of emerging out of kind of this AI landscape that we're in now. And then I think the other thing is probably the ability for AEC marketers, business developers, and seller doers to spend more time on the strategy of the pursuit and less time on the tactics of the pursuit. So if you look at 100% of the time that you're putting in, and if I'm an AEC marketer today, there might be like 80% or so being spent on just tactics of going and finding project descriptions, retooling.
All the procedural stuff.
Yeah, all the procedural stuff. Whereas I think what AI will afford, I mean, obviously Proposal AI affords this, but AI in general will afford is more time to work on the account plan and kind of the soft aspect, the relational aspect of the strategy, as opposed to more of the tactical things.
I had a chance to see your Proposal AI, and I think if I was to give it from a narrative from, the large enterprise organizations, AE or the C communities, they've got full teams, right? AI tools, especially like Proposal AI, it's going to get you from 0 to 80 like really quick. And that 80 to 100, now you've got time for creativity. The soft skills, which is what Lucas mentioned earlier on, very important in our industry. Our industry is still predicated on soft skills. And I don't think that's ever going to go away, right? But if you're worried about staying up till 11 o'clock at night to get in those 100 keywords that AI can do in like a flash of a second, all right? Now you've got time to say, hey, can I have time to have lunch with you? Can I meet with you? Hey, I've got some questions that can further enhance my proposal because I did the academic side. Now I've got time to give the creative side. I've always said it in our industry, we tend to be responding to issues instead of proactively managing issues. So this idea of being a firefighter, I don't care if you're on the AE side or the C side, there's a lot of that firefighting that goes on that just doesn't seem like there's enough hours in the day. And I think AI tools, Proposal AI, I'm going to say our tool, SMRT-E, it takes away that guessing part and it says, hey, it's done. Now start making business decisions. Where it's at 80% today or 90%, next year it's going to be 92%, then 95%, then 98%. I don't think we'll ever reach 100%. Well, it's like the curve that approaches infinity. Right? We're going to get closer and closer. We'll just never touch perfect because we still have to have that human element into it. which is what our business is. Our AEC community is it's a very personalized thing. When you do a design, it's your passion. These are artists hard at work.
Yeah.
Contractors are, they're artisans as well. They're taking your flat image and erecting it and bringing it to life, right? So they want to do their art. What they don't want to do is waste time with the documentation and telling you what happens next after I told you that this happened. If that could go away, you're going to get better artisan work.
Yeah.
Last question here. What do you think is the biggest myth that's going around for AI and construction?
The question.
The biggest myth.
Great question. Thanks, Angelina. Stump us both.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think people are worried that it's going to take away a whole bunch of people's work from them. That's a myth. If you are, and I'm going to put it out there and boldly, because why would I do it any other way? If you don't want to adapt, you don't want to learn about AI tools, you're going to become obsolete really quickly. It's like the person that didn't want to grasp Microsoft Word and they wanted to stick to their typewriter. They just don't have a job now. AI tools, if you are avoiding it, you're making yourself obsolete. AI is not making you obsolete. AI is going to make you very effective. And I know, and I can say with this, Angelina is one of our super AI users in our company. She likes to dabble with all the AI tools. Angelina's not real. She's an AI bot, just for the reference.
Yeah.
But she has found how to leverage these tools and go forward. So are people going to lose jobs? No, they're going to be repositioned into different areas. But if you don't want to jump in on the bandwagon, you're going to become obsolete.
Yeah, I tend to agree that, it's definitely one of the bigger myths, is, or at least was, how, like, is AI going to take my job, or is it going to take the human out of the loop? And the good news from my perspective, I feel like that's less of a myth today than it was 12 months ago.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is great. I think people are kind of just maturing past that. But Zulq, I've got a cool stat actually from the Inspire report this year, because we asked about that. We wanted to understand, like, what are you using AI for, or where do you kind of see the impact of AI? And I'll just read you the results. So,
Please.
anticipated effects of AI. 67% say that they will use AI to improve employee efficiency, and 54% said AI will improve employee effectiveness, followed by 35% maybe allow for some reallocation of responsibilities, 34% improve the workplace experience, and then very few, I think 11%, kind of admittedly, like, yeah, maybe it would allow for some kind of reduction or what have you. To me, the headline there is AEC firms by and large are looking to amplify their staff with AI, help people become more efficient, more effective. It's a bit of a worn out analogy, but I'll use it because it's a good one. The rising tide raises all the ships. And so I think, with the right kind of technology, it can take, your underperformers and very quickly bring them up to average or accelerated performers, which to me, there's just a lot of really cool opportunity, both for the business and kind of the impact of the business, but also for the people doing the jobs. If you're more effective, more efficient, getting some time back in your day, like that's a great way to work. And so that's where I see that myth being debunked and people moving away from it.
If I could just add to what you just said, Luke, because you had a very valid point. As the tide rises, all ships rise with it. Here's a real opportunity. If people don't recognize it, the AEC community is predominantly made up of small, medium enterprises. It allows them to punch above their weight grade. Right. So, if you're a small, medium organization and you want to really jump on this bandwagon, you're now punching as hard and as fast as these large organizations that have 20, 30, 40 people sitting in staff rooms. Right. Because they got to come up with a policy. You just got to execute. So there's a quick chance for you to climb up quicker and faster. So I really see that. Like, I'm excited about what the potential is. And I'm not one of those bandwagoneers that like to jump onto the tools and all that. I never was. But when I see value, I really, really see value with AI because of just the speed it's going to do it. And we have a motto here at Smart, be effective, because efficiency is driven as a byproduct of being effective.
I like that.
And you can be efficient, but what have you left behind? And it's the stuff you leave behind that really causes you the irritation on a project at the end.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for your input and joining us today.